is first session and then email and command task. So command task, the purpose of command task is to run command line arguments, basically to perform operating system level activities, okay, OS level activities. For example, copying a file from one location to another location, or changing the permissions of a file, or renaming a file, right? Maybe extracting some zip file of your source files, whatever. If you want to perform any operating system level activities, which can be performed by writing command and arguments, and these command and arguments can be triggered from within Informatica workflow itself. Let's say you have a requirement like you created an Informatica mapping that reads a flat file. Okay, your mapping source is a file, target is some table. Now this source file and this mapping is scheduled on daily basis. Okay, let's say 7 o'clock this mapping is starting. Now by 6:30 your vendor is dropping a file in location A. Okay, the access to your vendor is given to drop the files in location A. But your Informatica mapping is configured to read the file from location B. Okay, your Informatica mapping or workflow is configured to read the file from location B. So now what happens when you run the workflow at 7 o'clock? It expects a file to be present at location B, but your vendor has dropped the file at location A. So now every time you run the workflow, what you need to make sure is you need to copy the file from location A to location B, and then you need to run your Informatica workflow. So now in order to do this activity of copying a file from particular location A to B, you can write a command and argument, right? And this command and argument, without running externally anywhere, you can write it within Informatica workflow itself, so that it performs the corresponding copying operation, and once that is done, you will be able to pick the file as expected from your source location. So likewise, depending on your requirement, whatever the OS level activities that you want to perform, you can write the corresponding command and arguments and run those command and arguments from within Informatica workflow using a command task. So this is used to run command and arguments from within Informatica workflow. So this is also a reusable task, and again coming to the usage, this also can be used either as a standalone object or within session properties. Okay, now you see Informatica server can be installed either on Windows or Unix. Informatica server can be installed on either Windows or Unix. Now, and these client components are always on Windows. Okay, this workflow manager, everything, designer, we always have only on Windows. There is no Unix version. Now, when we write command and arguments from our client end on our client components, it depends on the server's operating system. Remember, the command and arguments that we write, it depends on the operating system your server is installed on. If it is installed on Unix or Linux servers, you need to write shell commands. Else, if your server is installed on Windows machine, then you can write DOS commands. Alright? This workflow manager, command task, everything we access through only Windows machine only. But that doesn't mean you can write always DOS commands. You need to first know what is the operating system your server is installed on. Based on that, you need to write the corresponding command and arguments. Alright? So command and arguments can be either DOS or shell, depends on the operating system of your server. Alright, so that's about it. let's try creating a simple copy. So this one also, as I mentioned, you can use in two ways. If you would like to perform any command of OS level operation as part of your workflow somewhere, you can obviously take the command task and write the arguments inside it. Else, if any particular activities that needs to be done right before the session is started, basically depend on your session status, then you can go back to the properties of session, and in the components tab, here you will see the corresponding options available. Pre-session command, post-session success command, post-session failure command. Pre-session command means right before the mapping is executed, if you would like to perform any operation like the one that we talked about, copying the activity, you can do pre-session command. Post-session is, as we have seen earlier, once after the session is succeeded and you want to perform certain activity, and you can do this post-session. Or if the failure has happened and you want to do certain activity on failure, then you can choose this option. So basically, you can either configure based upon your session status, or if the particular activity has to be performed as part of your workflow somewhere, you can use your command task. So here, this one, let me configure this one like this. And in this command task, we'll try to copy a file. Okay, so I'm going to give this location, and in here we don't have a department file. Okay, but I'm giving the path as this particular one. As of now, there is no file in this one. I have placed the file in outer location. Okay, here. So now what I'm going to do is, in command task, I'm going to write a command to do that copying activity right before my session is started. So in this command that I placed before session, I'll open this one here, go to commands tab, and you can write as many commands as you want. Okay, any number of command activities that you can perform. So as of now, I'll just create one. You can just name it for your convenience. Let's say I'll just keep it as copy source file. And in here, command editor is where you need to write actual command and arguments. So here, mine is a Windows machine. That means my server is installed on Windows itself. So we can write DOS commands. So what is a DOS command for copying? Copy itself. So copy. This is the source location and the file name I'll give, and target. Sorry. This is target. Okay. Basic syntax of copy command. Copy as a keyword, source location, and the target location. Okay. So now once this particular command is triggered, our file should be copied into our source location from where our Informatica is trying to read it. Alright, so this is the location that it's going to read from. As of now, that file is not available. So if I run this alone, as the file is not available, our session will fail, obviously, saying that the file is not found, right? But if we run this entire workflow, we should be able to process it successfully, as our command task is now able to pick up the files as we have performed there. You see, this is now failed, and with the possible error, the file is not found. So now what I'll do is I'll run the entire workflow. I think I have not provided the connection of the browser. Yeah. Okay. So file is already copied as our command task is run. I'll delete it again. Our source file is available here itself. Okay. Now I'll run it again. So first command is running and succeeded, and then the session is now successfully running as because our file is copied already. So if we go inside this one, here we can see the file is now copied. So likewise, any operating system level activities, whether it is removing files, whether it is creating a list file, right, or copying files like this, deleting, renaming, changing the permissions of the file, creating any directories, whatever the operating system level activities that you can perform and achieve through command line arguments, those command lines can be written in your Informatica workflows and be triggered either in command task or within session properties itself. So that's about command task. Any questions, you can let me know. Right. So next, assignment task. Let me check that notes with you. Yeah. So assignment task we have seen in parameterization concept. The purpose of assignment task is to assign workflow variable values. So used to assign values to workflow variables. Philip will talk about parameterization in one of the another session. I think you missed that. Anyway, next we have timer task. The purpose of timer task is to hold the execution of your workflow